I don't know, like, how do we do this? Like you, Kevin, and yeah, it's our first stream. Like I hope it's not gonna be the last. And the way this took place is basically we opened our Instagram like 2 months ago, and it's like I saw your account like I don't know a couple of weeks back, and I immediately I liked it, like this nature thing. You sitting there by the sea, and I was like, oh my God, this looks so great, and you're like so in harmony with nature, and this is like pretty much my ideal way of, I would say, existing. Just be there, and then this combination with tea, like it really, really struck me. It fascinated me, and I guess this is how I started to interact with you, like your stuff, and then reach out. And from my perspective, this is I felt like a mutual flow, sort of. Um, yeah, and then I came up with this idea, like really talk and not just exchange those short messages. Um, Maybe you can I don't know, introduce yourself. Kevin, I said that, but like, what's your story? How do you get to tea? How do you live? What's your daily life? Just share a little bit, and we go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you. Yeah, it was great. Like coming across your guys' page and like same thing, instant like resonation with the way you guys approach tea and of course like clean wild tea and just like your energy, I guess, is like very much in line with that really pure, authentic, um, human, way of sharing such a potent medicine that I feel like is definitely like taking over my life, but like not only taking over, but I feel like guiding my life in a lot of ways too. And I think like in regards to just tea being what it is, and that energy of tea, like nature and um, connecting with nature through tea and being out in nature and I guess like connecting with my own nature too through Qi Gong and stuff like that. And um, so so yeah, so I live in Ucluelet currently.
How do you pronounce that? Like, I read it, and I was like, how do I pronounce this? So is it like some native? Uh, because it doesn't sound English at all to me.
Mm, so it's Ucluelet.
Ucluelet.
And so in First Nations language, it means safe harbor. So we're on the Ucluelet Peninsula on the edge of Vancouver, on the west side of Vancouver Island. And so the rugged ocean, like right at our doorstep. And um, yeah, of course, like as a result, the landscape is pretty awesome. And there's a lot of untouched, well, that's a relative word. There's some untouched forest here that that is a that is a treat to spend time in. So yeah.
How much is like it looks like, and of course it's always easy to make it look like you live really remotely, but like, is it like this? Like, I don't know, if you want to go grocery shopping or something, does it take you
Yeah,
like a 20 minute ride to town, or is it just around the corner?
it's just around the corner. Like Ucluelet is about an hour or so from the next biggest town, which would be like around 20 or 30,000 people, I believe. And so, but between that is quite remote. There's
Wow,
really nothing but
wow, that's so
mountains and
nice. That
yeah,
is so nice.
mountains and rivers. So between like the center of Vancouver Island and the outer west coast where I'm located, there's just a lot of wilderness. And out here, like the community is built in and amongst the rainforest. So, you know, like I'm kind of on the edge of the peninsula, so there's definitely houses all around. But the the rainforest here is, aside from the houses being built and roads and trails, it's pretty well untouched. So there's a lot of old forests and little kind of like nooks and crannies as far as the forest goes, where you can find a place that's, you know, a few minutes walking from town that you potentially won't see anyone all day, or unlikely. So
Yeah,
unless it's summertime,
that is such a
summertime is busy.
yeah, that's such a fortune. Like I started going on hikes in the very north of Europe, like the north of Sweden, like 20 years ago, roughly. It was like my first time, and I immediately got like caught by this solitude and this like almost untouched nature. And ever since, it has been in the back of my head, like this romantic
Mm,
ideal image, you know, living like this, not just visiting, but like being able to just daily take in all this like slower life. I mean, which is one of the reasons why we moved to Taiwan. I mean, it's not quite the north. It's quite the opposite. But in in theory, at least, this is our what was within reach in regards of leaving this fast-paced life. You know, going trying to pursue what we feel is right. You know, like based on our inner compass and just living slower and much more simple and giving up all this struggle, this endless cycle of needing to make money to just sustain being that like little wheel in that big machine, you know. And that's why basically like 3 years ago we decided to, because Shao is Taiwanese and we had the opportunity, you know, so we settled down here in a way. And from then
mm,
on, like really live a very simple, very slow life, like tea every day, meditation, go out to nature, drive around in the mountains. We try to eat local food, buy it from farmers that grow it next to their house, you know, no pesticides. If we can, no fertilizer, like really the good stuff, you know. And I feel almost like aliens, you know, when you tell people, or when people from my old life, I call it old life, like they see this and we share this, they think like, what are you doing? Like you don't have furniture, you don't, like basically we're not consuming.
right.
We just live, you know. And for us it has become so normal and like it's so eye-opening to understand this is actually all we need. And this is like the most original form of living, you know. You eat, you sit there, you feel the sun on your skin, the wind, all of that good stuff, you know. And for us, it's like that's it, and we don't miss anything.
Mm. Yeah, no, I feel you. There's so much that you can learn just from sitting out in one, like it doesn't have to be one place, but if you sit in one spot in the forest or by the water or whatever, and you spend an hour or more there, and it, like the day just rolls by and unfolds in front of you, and you start to recognize the patterns in nature and the way, before sunset, how the whales like to come and swim by sometimes if you're lucky, and birds tend to be more active at certain times of the day, and um, there's so much to tap into. And then um, yeah, you start to get a feeling of that wholeness and connectedness um, that so many of us have lost. And I mean, we all lose it at some point. And to go back into nature and find that connection and to sit with a cup of tea and drink that nature and be in that nature is is like it feels like what's the world is needing right now in such a big way. And it's nothing we need to push on anyone, but like you say, just like living by example, and like your friends ask you what you're up to and you tell them, and they may not adopt what you're doing, but they might think twice about it. Or it's
On the
I think
long
it's
run, like I see it on the long run. I don't see it as like, and I had this mindset. To be honest, like I had this mindset to, um, I want to be a role model. I want to have an impact on you. This forceful behavior. Like actually, I mean, I have a German background. I can't. I have to admit, like I have this rigid, structured, like forceful thing inside me, which is yeah something I'm working on. But yeah, I definitely had that. I thought like for the better of my friends and the people around me, I felt like I need to tell them this is the right thing to do. And it took me a long time to understand like I can live this way, but if I really want to have an impact and help people, all I can do is offer. All I can do is show them, but you can't tell them, you can't dictate them how to live their life. That would be like quite the opposite of how I understand it now. So it took me quite a while. What I would like to know, because you mentioned several times, you speak about tea as medicine and healing plants. So it is quite obvious for us that tea for you is not just something you drink. It's not just a product. Has it always been like this? How did you meet tea? How did tea come to you? Has there been a shift from just consuming a delicious beverage to those healing properties? How did this go for you? Maybe you can tap into this. This will be very, very interesting, I think.
Yeah, thanks. It's always fun to share. I think like I always like to bring it back to when I was a fisheries technician hanging falling boundary around old growth forest on the mid BC coast, and I was just felt like I was guided to by the cedar tree, actually, if I'm to be totally honest, to help and heal, and that led to Reiki, and then from Reiki just came all of these um, new like Asian arts that I'd never heard about, and I wanted to learn so much, and I was like a sponge that just wanted to absorb all this information and just to find what resonated with me. And I think tea initially is because it was Asian and it tasted good. So for some years it was that, and and then um, and then at some point I ended up picking up a Taoist magazine, and it had an interview with Poe Rosenberg of Heaven's Tea, and I just knew that I needed to meet this guy and have tea with him. So I did. I went down there, and it was awesome. It felt like I had been having tea, like the first time I had ever had tea, sitting with him, and had a journey of like all these rare teas, and just started to feel the chi of tea, and it just blew my mind. And so from that point forward, I just started to piece together, teapots and things, and just to learn how to sort of serve tea in a more ritualistic way. And um, so yeah, he really instilled like presence. Really is what it comes down to. Like there's all sorts of things we can do to make a good cup of tea better. Um, but that essentially we're just pouring from our hearts, ideally, right? It's that loving energy that is the same as an old growth forest that we pour into a cup of tea. And
So, so
that,
is it?
that
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah.
Please go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
What is it?
Um,
What is a good? What is a good cup of tea then? Because you mentioned we can always make a good cup of tea better. Um, how would you define a good cup of tea?
I think like again, presence and I guess getting to know your teaware, like knowing knowing how to use them and how I guess how they function, like knowing when the water's ready and knowing when the tea's ready and um, the things of warming the pots and maintaining the heat is really important and um, presence, like sometimes I'm just like pouring tea and I don't even know, like I'm not thinking about it. And I think, of course, there's thinking involved at times, and it's a part of who we are. But ideally, we don't like try to make tea. We just kind of relax into a natural state, and it happens,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's one of my observations, that I see in the tea community, that it's just so easy to get lost in those technicalities, or which year is that tea from? What about this? What about that? And full disclosure, like I don't even know too much about tea. I mean, I've been drinking tea with Shao like daily for years and years, but I would say I know very, very little, and my true interest has never been um, tea itself or teaware, but more the whole experience around it, like more like what it does to me and how it helps me to transform, um, how to sit down, how to be in silence, how to accept myself, face myself, think about stuff that usually wouldn't come to mind. And I feel like it's a helper, it's a tool. And whether we are drinking, I don't know, rock tea or Puerh or whatever, to me, it's really secondary. And I see this, to get back to my initial point, um, with a little bit of like I don't want to say sadness, but I just wish more people would get away from those technicalities, the exact temperature and all this, to more just enjoying the tea and being there with tea, and not just making tea, putting it um, on this, like making it the main player, taking pictures and all that. Yeah, of course it looks beautiful, but it's so um, it's kind of like missing the point, and
Mm.
it's not the star of the show. The star of the show at the end of the day is you as a human being and how you transform through the tea, at least from my perspective. And
Mm.
you can see here's my German mind coming through again. Like uh, t- trying to make a point, like on
I have very different opinion.
yeah. Before you answer, let Kevin know and the audience what we're drinking.
Um, we're drink because usually we don't drink so much pour tea. Only once in a while when we feel that want to more settle down and feel grounded, and I will prepare pour tea. And because I know today we will drink tea with you and you drink pour tea, so somehow I have a feeling to drink. Um, this tea is from our monk friend. He it's a wild pour tea, and I don't know too much about this because it's a gift. But when we drink it, we can also feel the qi and the nature energy inside us, and somehow I feel I want to connect with you, not just through talking, but also through the qi in the tea, and yeah, just my small imagination.
Mm.
And I'm curious what tea are you drinking?
Oh, right. Yeah. I'm drinking, I think this is a 2017 raw pu'er from, I think it's from Bulang.
Recently, I asked Shao and a lot of Taiwanese people here, um, maybe you can help me with this. Why pu'er is so popular in the West, like in the US, in Canada, all over Europe? It's almost like it's crazy. Like I see people almost like celebrating the packaging and the shape of the cake and this and that. You know, it's really like it's impressive. And I feel here in Taiwan, it's really a minor role. It's not. It doesn't have that fame. You know, people might drink it, and if people drink it, it's usually the older generation, like really old school, right? Like older Taiwanese guys. But majority and vast majority is really it's not pu'er. So I'm curious about like why do you think, or maybe you know the ultimate answer, like why in the West um, it has this popularity.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it has such a popularity other than like I can only speak personally and that, I've had some incredible oolongs, like some really old oolong that is insane. And I've been exposed to some really good, I guess, younger oolong. And it seems to me like maybe it comes back to the energy and that maybe a lot of the oolong out there just doesn't have the chi in it. Where pu'er, not to say all pu'er does, because I would say probably the vast majority of pu'er people are drinking is, maybe doesn't have as much chi and is maybe tastes good to them, but I think it could be maybe also that, pu'er comes from, at least like this one comes from trees that are hundreds of years old and, very good quality leaf and all of these things that you can get in oolong, of course, and it sounds like that's what you guys have been connected with. And so it could be that, much like the really good quality pu'er, that there's not a lot of it, as far as I know, out there. Maybe with the oolong, that there's not a ton of the really good stuff out there either.
Then
But why pu'er is more popular, I don't know.
yeah, that's the crucial point. Like you're tapping into quality. I would like to know because I know that you're into wild teas as well, and anything else wouldn't make sense, to be honest. Like when you, I mean, speak about Taoism and all the like energy flow. So to me, this is goes hand in hand, like having high quality, pure, clean, wild tea. How do you ensure that you get the quality you want, and how did you find sources over time? Maybe you can talk about this a little bit.
I feel like, yeah, they came to me, I guess. Like I mentioned, Poe, I guess, was like my first hit of like tea that has good chi. And then as a result of that connection, just kind of branched out and eventually made more connections that the better tea just started coming to me. And so grateful for all the tea I've been exposed to is quite a gift. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that I definitely didn't get it right off the bat. I drank what I would consider now to be low quality pu'er and just tea in general for probably the first 5 or more years that I was drinking tea, and I didn't know any better. But once you have tea that's got good chi in it, and you kind of get that in your system, there's that impression that you're, you remember and you can feel good tea. And when it's not good tea, you can feel it as well. It helps if you're sensitive energetically, I find. I mean, if you've been filling your body with junk food and alcohol and other things that aren't good for you, then chances are like you're probably not going to get the chi effect as noticeably.
That's a really thank you for bringing this up. I think it's a super crucial point. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the purity of tea and the effect you feel, because of course in the beginning, just like you, we started with conventional tea. We thought like, we walk into like random shops and they tell us, hey, this is good tea, this is great, and we, oh yeah, okay, let's try, and then we drank it. And because you're even more sensitive than I am. How do you feel, for example, if you drink conventional tea? What are the effects you feel on your body, on your mind?
Well, I guess
Now I'm talking
um,
talking to Shao, but you can of course also you can of course also
I can't see your face.
we give you some time to sip your tea, and she will answer first.
Sounds good.
I think the first 3 years we drank conventional tea, and I in the beginning I didn't feel uncomfortable because in that time my body is not because my body was a lot of junk food. But through drinking tea, I could feel and meditation, um, the body is cleaning itself, healing itself, and the cleaner it becomes, the more uncomfortable feeling I feel from the conventional tea. Like I will feel headache or stomach ache or my body is very nervous, but I didn't know why. And until I drank, one time we came back to Taiwan, and we tried the wild farming tea in Taiwan. And I also feel it's the first time I feel the qi, and it's a very opened up sensation. Like you feel like you connect with nature. And so, because of this experience, we slowly transform our tea to wild farming tea, or natural black roasters. Um, Tea from nature, a much cleaner nature, and you could. I learned that when we drink tea, we don't just drink for the taste. It's really we drink for the energy, for the forest, or um, the land. Like in each mountain, it has its own taste and own climate, own energy, and so it really opened up my eyes that okay, I don't only drink, for example, this tea because of certain reason. I through tea, like a map, it helps me to understand. Oh, maybe in Taiwan we have 10 mountains, and each mountain we have different kind of flavor, and maybe China, Yunnan, or Fujian, these different places, it all has this unique flavor and qi. And it, what do we, yeah, and then I think till now we drink maybe 4 to 5 years of wild bounty or wild tea, and now we can clearly see our body really transform to, it's like a clean cup. And when there's a little bit chemical or substance or pesticide in the food, it could be an apple or whatever, like we taste it, and I will immediately have skin allergy or feel very uncomfortable, and he will have a heart pump.
Yeah, like palpitations. Like I feel super nervous for hours, and just very very uncomfortable. Even into like anxiety, and just like kind of like a doomed feeling. Like it's very weird. And in the very beginning, just as Shao also said, I didn't associate it with tea, and I didn't even understand it, and I didn't even really feel it, because that was my status at that time in Berlin when I was still, like working my job and all that. I thought like, yeah, that's just how it is. That's just how life feels. it's normal. But no, this is not normal. Like, this is so not normal. And I see a lot of people nowadays, even non-tea drinkers, we ask them, why don't you drink tea? And they would tell us, oh, I can't drink tea. Why can't you drink tea? Because I feel very uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
we reply to them, you don't, I mean, we don't explain in detail because it's just, in a short conversation, but the point being, it's not the tea that makes you feel uncomfortable or the plant itself. It's because it's conventional tea. It's because it's dirty, because they pour tons of like fertilizer and pesticides. That is why you feel uncomfortable. But um, if you have a good source, then it's healing you. It's not harming you. And that is one of the main points we would also love to bring across throughout time to like really get people to transition into naturally farmed teas and wild teas made by, and that's just one component. The second component is the person who creates that tea, who farms that tea. What's their intention? Do they put love into that plant? Do they put dedication um, into their operations, or is it because, yeah, I like tea kind of, but actually I want to make money? You can taste that. It's just such a big difference. And yes, our very big hope to slowly transition, get people to shift their focus and make them understand.
It's been a total like re-education to people who come and sit and have tea with me, because like you say, like they may have, usually it's about caffeine, I find, where people will think that they're going to not be able to sleep because of the caffeine, when sometimes it's because of the pesticides, or whatever, the chemicals, or just the lack of qi that just is upsetting their system and their mind. So um, yeah, very much agree with, yeah, everything you said, Xiao. And it's one of those things that, like you say, it heals you if it's good tea. And um, what I love about tea is that it works like on your purifying your body from the inside out, and then it just seems like it just emanates out into life. So, you know, I mean, energetically, like we feel our chi is like we've got more of an energetic sense of ourselves in the world, and then deeper aspects of our like awareness suddenly become um, more prominent in our day to day. So we're able to operate from a place that is from a cleaner place, like body, speech, and mind. We're able to come at life in that way of tea.
I love how you say all that with with a very high degree of clarity. Like, it sounds like um, your path and you found your path. And what also makes me say that, and maybe we can transition if you still have time to quickly tap into this, is that you live in such a beautiful place, and yet, I think 2 days ago or a couple of days ago, you told me, "Oh, by the end of this month, I'm gonna give up this chapter and start a new one and live in a van and go around and serve tea." So only a person, that's at least how I see it and what I think, who has confidence, who is grounded, who understands their existence in this crazy, chaotic world, can make a decision to jump into the cold water and go on, set off to that new journey, that new adventure. Um, Please let us know if you still have time to, because we don't want to stretch it out like for into infinity for our first call. But if you have time and you're willing to share, then please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. It's pretty fresh, but that is the feeling that I'm getting, and it's that, I think you used the term inner compass, and so it's like, being guided. We're all being guided, and think we sometimes, depending on your perspective and belief and experience, of course, but think that we have some sort of control over what we're doing in this experience. And maybe we do, I don't really know. But all I know is that the feeling that I get that is an all-encompassing feeling of the word abundance comes through when I serve tea. And it's something that I just need to harness that energy, because it's spilling over into to people's lives and bringing so much so much energy, so much life, so much magic. And so it's come to the point where it feels that's not all I know, but it's definitely what I feel called to serve, the way to serve in the world right now. So yeah, I'll be serving tea on the Sunshine Coast of BC in the end of the month, and then and there's other ideas and other places. And the cool thing about taking this leap that I've found is, as soon as I took the leap, like the steps just present themselves. If I can be in the moment and honor that guidance for what it is, then the magic kind of just, it does happen. So yeah, following that and trusting and having moments, of course, but overall it feels, I'm excited for it.
How do you deal with fear? This feeling of, or is there even fear, or is there this thought of, okay, maybe I could fail, or maybe it's a stupid idea, or maybe people will laugh at me, or all this, because I'm not in particularly worried that or too concerned that it's something you're dealing with, but for the people who listen, and for the people who might think, oh my God, if I put myself in his shoes, I would be so scared. How can he do this? Like maybe you can inspire through explaining like how you deal with this, or why this is not worrying you.
Yeah, I guess, it's just like doing things that you can do to remind you of what's true and what's real for you, and not what other people are telling you and what other sources are telling you. And that there's a time for everything, and it's just recognizing that timing for what it is and not arguing with it. And that timing is different for everyone, and it comes in its own time for everyone, of course, too. So listening, presence again, and back to tea. So yeah, anything you can do to bring yourself back to presence, and I think it's inevitable too that we dip into shadows now and then. And that's part of becoming clear, is embracing that shadow and loving it, and allowing it to dissolve. And from that comes the space where we can recognize things for what they are on another level. And so I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Like you put it in I'm amazed. Like just listening to you, it's really, I enjoy that a lot. It gives me a lot of, even though this is just a screen I'm staring at, but it gives me a lot of like sunshine coming over through thousands of miles or kilometers across the Pacific Ocean. But it's almost like you're here in this room with us. I'm not joking. It feels very warm and
Yeah,
cool. It's really, really
I feel
beautiful.
it too.
We're not even
Yeah,
done yet, but I'm already want to say, like, I'm super grateful that we can have this conversation, and it's it's one of those things. It just comes to you and you just do it. I didn't think too much about it, and now I sit here and I think, man, this is like, wow, this is just so great, to talk to you and to hear all this and absorb all this, and it energizes me. I can feel it. It's either the poor or you or both. That
yeah,
that energizes me. So is that thing open end? You hop onto your van, drive around the Sunshine Coast. Is it like time limited at first? Do you say, okay, I'm gonna try out for like a couple of weeks or a month or two, or what's your agenda?
I am, really taking it a day at a time, like, or an event at a time, sort of thing. So I definitely am interested in connecting with people who would like to host me and go from there. And so set things up and come out. Like I bring my table, I bring everything, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Like to have done it a little bit. Like I've served at markets and other places, and it's really neat to see this set up in different areas, and people that have been to multiple areas, they're like, oh wow, it's like your tea space only in a different location. So it's yeah, it's so precious to connect with people all around and get to really have such deep and rich and um, meaningful like connections with these people that share the same love for tea, or just like feel called. Maybe they don't even know what tea is, but they feel they want to come and check it out, or they're guided themselves to come and sit. So
Yeah.
we're all just kind of floating around, and we end up where we end up. And so yeah.
How's I'm curious, how's the feedback that you get in like the society up there in North in Canada? Um, because people are, I guess, like I've never been there, but at least my imagination, more rooted in nature. Because I imagine doing the same thing in Germany, for example, I feel the feedback would be um, kind of like giving you this label. Oh, he's this esoteric guy. He looks like a bum. He doesn't know what to do, so he's driving around with a van. They would confront you with a lot of negativity, I would feel.
They will
Um,
feel afraid to
yeah, and
join.
they would be scared. Maybe they're curious, but they would keep distance and like, oh, I'd rather not like talk to him or something like this. Maybe it's just my perception because that's how I used to live my life back in Germany. That's also a possibility. But I picture it being like the people up there where you live, being more open and not that judgmental, maybe, or not having this like prejudice. How's that?
Yeah, that's partly true. It's definitely like British Columbia, I would say known, like we're known for hippies out here. So that's a sort of like, you know, a sort of like tree hugging like image people get. And so earthy and and that. So yeah, there's definitely people that are into tea here. And I think that's why it seems to be sort of taking off in one sense, relatively speaking. But it's not everywhere. Like for sure, you have to. I don't know. Tea is a sort of interesting thing because it's not it's not going to raise its voice. So you have to listen, and you have to kind of like let go of your preconceptions of what tea is, and and just come at it fresh. Because yeah, like these types of teas that we're drinking are very unusual, and when people get a taste of what the experience is, because it's an experience that not like it's not like I don't know, a roller coaster or something. It's like something that's furthering a positive fundamental shift in your relation to yourself and to nature. And people are like, what, like over a cup of tea? But it really, of course, can be that. And of course it's not for everyone, and so there's people who will think all sorts of things, but that's okay. I guess that's part of it. you know
You are like really, really inspiring. It's really it's a joy listening to you, and you sound like a teacher, and you are like not just you specifically. I love to see just all those conversations as an opportunity to learn and to listen to people and to help to kind of like break, crumble apart your own solidified way of thinking and way of living. So for me, this is really it's great input, and it's a really great start to a great start of our day, like to have this conversation with you. And it brings me to a suggestion. Maybe if you're interested in this, we could, and you mutually enjoy like talking, we could maybe be a part of your trip. Like whenever you have time, we could schedule like another conversation and see how your journey is going. What are your experiences? What did you learn? And so on and so on, and bring the people um, who live more regular lives, a little bit of this, and just inspire them, and show them, hey, it's possible to live the life you want to live. I think that would be really, really great.
That sounds fun. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Like the way I mean, it just feels really good. The way you've set this up and just the way, I don't know, just the way you guys are. I can't put it down to one or two or 10 things. I really appreciate the dialogue and the way our energies are coming together feels really good. So really appreciate this. And yeah, the opportunity to share has felt amazing, and getting to know you guys more too.
I felt very inspired from our conversation because I feel like even though you come from a very cultural background, but from the beginning you already understood the essence of tea, like spirit, nature, and the silence, the peace inside us. And it's the opposite for me because I grew up in Taiwan, and it's like a beverage, or it's a so common thing that people don't really appreciate, or the way they drink tea is very just it's like something on the table. We don't really connect to. We don't link to spirit or nature. And also, there are just so many people who know how to brew tea. And at least for me, in the first maybe 5 or 6 years of exploring tea, I kind of lost in the technical part. Like, and it linked to what he said in the earlier, that it is so easy to lose in the technical part or knowledges. I compare this or that, or this is better, blah, blah, blah. And then we forget about the essence. But I think it's the yin and yang part. This yin part guide me to the yang part to understand that actually because I care about the technique. The reason I care about the technique is actually because I respect tea. I want to know it. I want to understand it as another being. Maybe I use wrong, maybe too rational mindset, try to understand it. But on the way to understand it, it's like a teacher. It helped me to break the limit in my brain, like to help me to see, oh, actually I'm so rational to look at it. Or actually it's not just the timing, or there's something else. And through those practice, I start to maybe notice something I didn't notice before, like the water temperature, the room, the climate today, and what I want to say is, now I look back, those rational aspects, it's very difficult to explain. There's no something bad or good. It's all help each other, because our rational mindset help me to right now see the essence of tea, which is actually what you understand in the beginning. Yeah,
And it's all necessary.
it's
the so-called bad experiences or the pain, the suffering we go through is actually the great teacher, and it paves the way, and it just allows for the light to come in. If you don't walk through a dark valley, how can you understand the relation to sunshine and to happiness, right? Like this is the yin yang. You need those points.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
This is Megan. She's calling you, asking you about hosting the class together.
Sorry, what was that?
yeah, phone call.
I think you're receiving a phone call, right?
Yeah, I didn't know you guys could see that. Yeah, I'm just ignoring it.
I could hear the vibration, and then I tried to slip in a joke, and I said, "This is Megan trying to contact you about the class that you're hosting together." Yeah, I don't know. I think like for our first like gathering, maybe we should wrap it up. And if you have any closing words or anything you would like to add, please go ahead. Otherwise,
Well, thank you, I guess, is really sums it up. There's, I think there's something really special to be able to connect with people around the world who share the love for tea, and we can learn from each other and support each other, and really just to hear each other, to be a presence for each other. And whether it's online or in person, it still furthers that same energy. And you guys have definitely, filled my cup in that sense. I feel, like we're helping each other. Like you speaking the way you do about what I sometimes think is like, a wild idea is I guess reaffirms what I'm feeling deep inside. So yeah, it's a precious gift to share over tea these experiences we have. So thank you.
then I guess we're gonna start our day. Have lunch soon. You can finish your 2017 work, and we keep in touch, and I'll send over when I'm done with editing.
Okay, sounds good.
Kevin, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Have a good night, and
Thank you.
we see each other soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.